Hello guys, decided to make the tier video. As I said before, in the other video I'll make a tier list if people are interested. No one outright said to me to make the tier list, however, um, tier lists are always fun in gacha games, but obviously they also are pretty bad too because it's subjective, people are in different stages of the game, but I wanted to give some of my opinions. I will say that in regards to my S25 account, I don't have any light or shadow, and therefore um, I don't have first-hand experience apart from borrowing them from friends. I won't be able to give as much detail about them. To be fair, some of the pictures I forget their names because I never get to see them. But I do, know their performance generally in things like Advanced Arena. If I struggle against them, then I know that the hero is stronger than maybe some others. However, I also have had a lot of conversations with people on Discord, and some people have provided their own tier list um, to sort of saying what they like about the hero. So what I'm going to do is also sort of reference that a little bit for some of the decisions, and sort of talk about maybe the stages where the hero is really good and when they maybe get a bit bad, and that should explain why maybe if you're early in the campaign you're finding a hero to be really really strong and have the perception that maybe they're an sort of S tier or A tier or even a B tier, when in reality maybe they're actually a D tier because they don't offer anything beyond maybe the first couple campaign levels. So I'm going to start first of all, I think, with Rangers. I'm going to try and do it all by the classes instead, and therefore it's easier for me to talk about it, why they sort of differ. But in regards to S tiers, we have Tell, and we also have, that's not him, that's Felix. Tell and Felix, both S tier. They're both just amazing. People are building multiple Felixes when they can. They're big spenders. They have multiple people take him and from events if they can, anywhere, just to try and get him up, because he's not really let anyone down late game. He does a lot of damage. It's AoE, and then Tell is he has a huge single target knock. I think he does silences as well. Not silences, just CC, basically, just crowd control. It's just overall a great hero. And then following up from that, another great hero is Diana. I will say Diana is not an S tier. She does silence, and she does a lot of AoE, but the damage is quite low, so I wouldn't put her as high as the other two. However, she's by no means a bad hero. And then in the same slot as Diana, I'll say Liv sits there as well. Um, she can, put them. I think they go like rock or something. I don't know what the description is, but I use her and she just helps a ton. Although sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it feels like she doesn't use her ability. Like it doesn't actually do anything to them when she hits. But she's overall just an amazing hero, and I'd recommend it. Then following up from that, I will say it's Rennie. I think she's a B tier. I wouldn't put her as high as Liv. I just feel like Liv just does what Rennie does, but better. But I think that Rennie's attack has a bigger radius, and seems to do just more damage. So she's a bit of a different, but when it comes to late game campaigns, you will see that heroes with skills tend to do a lot better than those without. Now for Edward, I think I think he's a D tier. I don't really like him. Some people I've seen use him. He just doesn't do well, and I just don't think it's worth leveling him up. Celia, I think, or Suv, no, Celia, I think Celia or Suvi. I can't remember the name, but anyway, you can recognize the picture. I've not played her. Not many people have her. I know one of the people in my guild in S25 has her. She's okay. I don't think she's that amazing, but probably an A tier. Uh, like a lower A tier for me. I don't see her doing that much crazy stuff. It's like sometimes she does some amazing stuff, sometimes a bit less, so it's a bit awkward. Then we've got Darby. Darby, I think, maybe gets a bad rep. I don't consider her to be as bad as some people say. Her damage is okay. She's quite tanky. She can actually solo tank. She does some heals. It's just overall a very middle class hero. But I think early she's amazing. She does really well, especially if your team, you don't have it organized yet in terms of a tank, some sort of setup. Maybe guild tech's not even focused, so she's sort of just lingering. Now, what other ranges are there? Brooke. Oh, Brooke is Brook is kind of bad. Maybe a C tier, maybe. Um, maybe a C tier for him. Damage is not too bad, but otherwise it's an okay ranger. You're not gonna hurt yourself by building him. However, if you have access to any of the others, then just no point. Do. So these pictures, I'm just trying to find more rangers. I'm probably end up missing a couple and then having to come back to it. I think that might be it for Rangers. Anyway, that's the Ranger tier list so far. This is that tier list. Now let's do Warriors, right? Warriors. Lionel, amazing, amazing hero. If you have Lionel and get his copies, and I think all of you will because you get him from things like the VIP levels, which you just sort of organically get as you play the game. And just generally, good hero. If you get copies, if you can get him in events, whatever, pick him up. Good, amazing. Now moving on, I think I will put Cardinal, Cardinal and Eric in the A tier, and Eric is an amazing PvP hero, and Cardinal is also great. Cardinal is sort of like just a bit of a worse version of Eric. However, both of them are great, and either one that you get, they can be a frontline tank. The reason why Lionel is at the top is because his passive allows him to survive for much longer than the others. But the shields can be amazing, so if you can find a way to sort of allow them to cast and apply their shields, they will do a lot for your team. But Lionel is just because in the game you're consistently pushing further and further beyond. Basically, you're always at the peak of the max you can do. So if you go to campaign 25 or whatever, where your levels are somewhat equal to their position, even if they're like 50 levels below you, their power is so much higher than it should be, or just on paper, like the stats are increased. If you pin him up against those characters, they will just destroy them. The shields are crazy. However, obviously, at the stage where you're in the game, where you're on campaign, 35 or 37 or even 40, wherever people may be, heroes which have amazing abilities or passives are the ones that sort of sit at the top of that list. Uh, Carrying on with Warriors, Patras is actually I'm going to put as a D tier. Patras you get for free in the game. I think you get a copy of him, and I think you get him quite commonly. He's my most common forest hero that I've gotten ever. I think I've had like 15 of him, and I've fed them all. I fed them all into my forest heroes. He's just not good. He doesn't have anything that's that crazy. I think he has damage reduction when he casts, which could be good for absorbing big attacks if you time it well. However, generally he's just a big beefy guy that just doesn't have anything to help him tank. So essentially he's just a meat stick. So they whack him for a little bit, but he dies. But late game, the further you go, you realize that he can't do anything to save himself. Another honorable mention would be Jonas here. Jonas is actually not too bad of a tank in the early game. However, don't even look at him late game. But it's worth leveling him up if you get him. He can just be a decent tank. He's not that bad actually for an epic hero. Or he's rare but upgraded to epic. What other tanks do we have? Renault. I think Renault is just ever so slightly above Patras because he is just better. I think his ability does more damage. He casts it quicker. Just performs better. But he's a bit of a meat stick. Nothing too crazy about him. God, I'm gonna get confused. So that's Yasuko, right? Yeah. That's an A tier. I wouldn't put him on S, but he is actually huge. If he gets his skills off, he does a lot for the team. So it's worth, obviously, always worth to level up light as well as shadow units. Generally, because they allow you to they can be used in what's it called? Eternity, Infinite, whatever is the faction tower. I think you can use light and shadow in either one, so I think he will just work out well for you. Um, Other warriors here in the list. Gosh. Some of these I just don't use, and the pictures are a bit different for me. But I think I just have them all. Oh God, yeah, him and Seth. Yeah, D-Tiera and Seth as well, the Skull guy. Both they're basically identical. They don't do anything too different from one another. They just sort of strike in front of them. They're just not as good as Renault and just generally bad tanks. As you can see, the tanks are pretty much the three up here, the four up here are the good ones, and those ones here just the bad ones. But yeah, I think I'm done with tanks. Maybe in the end I'll see them again, but maybe I'm just blind. Oh yeah, her. She's also pretty bad. Uh, yeah, I think now that's all of them. Anyway, so moving on to assassins. For assassins, my opinion, my personal one. Remember, this whole list is personal opinions. You've got Rumil, who does really well, and Terrence. Both crazy good heroes, mostly because they shield and they generally just do a lot of damage. Sort of, Terrence is just self-sustaining, as you probably all have a Terrence, anyone watching the video, or trying to get a Terrence because someone told you to get a Terrence. Just really, really strong. Great heroes. If you get some copies, if you can get them from events, and if you maybe spend some money, get lucky on the RNG, then you get them up. I don't have a single copy of Ramil though, but I have used him before from friends and stuff. He's just really good. Then Gar is probably the third best assassin in the game. He's sort of an A tier, strong unit generally, but not as good as Ramil or Terrence. Uh, Bella, I believe is the name. Yeah, she's not bad. Probably a B tier assassin. Initially, I viewed her as a bit bad. However, when you get her up and her ability kicks in, the spider thing, not bad at all. Can do a lot. Can do wonders because you the enemy assassins just away from you. And to be fair, if they're not getting power up, your team's sort of killing their tank. And if they don't have a Lionel in that squad, or maybe they have some damage carries up front, which some campaign levels are a bit dirty with the setup. They have the sort of the healers in the front that have way more HP than they should, and they keep healing, and Cardinals and Eric Cardinal combos, which just shielding one another non-stop is just frustrating. But yeah, I think I'll slap Bella there. Soda, I I I liked Soda. I will say he was my first 10 star, I believe, or like second 10 star, and I really liked him. But the further you get in the campaign, the worse he gets. It just becomes a nightmare waste of time. I literally broke him apart, and then and now he's just sitting there in pieces. Someone asked me like 2 weeks ago about whether I liked Soda and what I think about him because they noticed that I did have one, and I said, "Oh, but basically since you've asked me that question, he's already broken up into pieces." So yeah, not a big fan. Um, then we have gosh, he's he's probably for an assassin. I think pretty much the same as Bell. He heals when they're under 50%, I believe. So he can do good. He has self-sustain, decent damage. Just an okay hero. He will never be the best hero you have. However, he won't be the worst. So he can stick around, and especially for things like advanced arena or multi-stage bosses, you just kind of want to have an assassin to take heroes off your backline. So him and Bella can work well as just taking him away, making sure that your tank gets to be the one that takes the brunt of the damage after. So it just works. Um, gosh, more assassins, more assassins. Oh, Beelzebub. Between D and C tier, pretty bad. Don't I've not leveled him. I have him, but I'm not leveled him. But I don't also see him. But I know he can be okay sometimes. So it's one of those where I just don't feel like I want to put him high or low just for that reason. Just let him chill out. Um, gosh, I'm just struggling to find all of the heroes in this list. There's just loads of pictures. I think we're now on mages. I believe so. All right. So that's the assassins. Okay, mages. Mages. So Milton, personal opinion, C grade. You can say he's maybe a B grade, but I just feel like he's alright. He can do damage, and later he does seem to do a bit more damage than people initially thought, and the way I thought as well. But I don't often get any problems from him on enemy teams. But there's times when, like in the campaign, he ends up completely decimating me, and that's just frustrating. But it is what it is. Okay, Flora. Oh wait, there's another tank. She's probably probably a B tier. Not didn't She's not the best. She's not the best warrior. She's also not the best sort of providing with a skill for some sort of team reason. She's just sort of in the middle. Bang, just yeah, not that not that useful. Okay, and then we have he's good. I think he's useful. as you may notice, most of them will be up on the top part. I don't think any of them are bad. Yulvin, whatever his name is, but not bad. Can do some damage. Um, I think he may probably the only useful mage. Uh, him and O'Shea are probably the only A tier mages, but later they become pointless. Apans was saying that basically, even though he's spec'd into mages, now they're just not doing good at all for him and don't allow him to progress through the PvE stages. So take that as you will. If you're going to focus on mages, be aware that they do fall off late game. In PvP, they'll be fine, they'll be great because they do a lot of AoE. They also have often things attached to their skills that allow them to just do more, like stuns or whatever. But generally they really fall off. Giselle B, because she has the sheep skill, which is actually quite useful, especially if you're maybe trying to eliminate a single opponent. Um, they generally is pretty good. Ragnall, I think same thing. I think he can stun, which is still useful. I feel like I'll put him on the same stage as someone who can do that. Um, gosh. Primo, I think that's Primo. That's Frode over here. I think this is Primo. Primo's not bad. He's not amazing, but not bad either. I think maybe putting him. Um, I don't know. I feel like C. I feel like against one opponent he can really do a lot of damage because of his skill, but generally, eh, not the best. I think I'm putting. I was sort of mixing priests together with mages, but I slapped them two up there. I think they just both deserve to be up there. Oh, mm, maybe down here. All right. He's kind of bad. Sinclair is good. I'd say really good. Um, Arches is pretty bad for a mage. Um, Probably C. They're not gonna do bad for you. I feel like if you build them up and you progress through the story, you'll realize that they're not bad. Grigor will be great. I think he'll always be a B tier because of his passive, given the buffs to his teammates, the three of them. So as a priest, he'll always have a use because the stats he gives are gonna always be applicable to your heroes. So if you ever level him up, you'll never regret having him. But he isn't like the best. And some of these heroes, like for example, they may be amazing healers, but the heals they provide aren't that high. Or like sorry, it won't make that much of a difference. Like if you get to a stage of the game where everything is one-shotting your heroes, you're not gonna need just consistent heals. You're gonna need some other things like shielding or whatever or stuns. Those are the things that are really important. So one of the reasons why Lionel's so strong, or the heroes that can do a lot of damage more than they really should be, like Tell and Felix, like they're gonna be up there, or providing the CC that's gonna sit on top of that list. Um, Asaf is just a detail. He's one of the only epics that can actually be useful in the game. Most of the other ones are not the greatest, but he's okay. So if you get him, and usually people won't have many light and shadow units, because you maybe not putting it into the tree, and therefore if you get a bunch of copies of Asaf or Jonas, they're not bad heroes to level up, and they just can be useful in the game. As tanks in maybe guild wars or something. But generally, if you don't have things to put your stuff into, because most people, their tier list won't even consist of shadow and light units. Usually it's just the basic factions. So sometimes you'll just have a whole right hand side of your faction list where you're just seeing these heroes with no legendaries to feed them into, and you can go ahead and just level up Asaf or Jonas, or I think there's one more where I'm blanking, that's actually useful. Oh yeah, Nancy. She's the same. I think all three of these can sit in sort of their little pile. They're not too bad. They can do their job. And her heals are very consistent. I think she puts on 5 heals that heal for a percent. So it's not bad. If it was flat, it would be garbage, I think. Waga, again, she's on a tier of her own. She's been described as very niche. I think she gives energy. I don't even know. No one uses her, and nobody gives her to use as a thing. No one even reads her. She's just garbage. Margaret, I think, is an S tier. Margaret, I think everyone will tell you, get Margaret. She's strong. Um, and everyone does. It feels like everyone has a Terrence, everyone has a Margaret because it's such a good combination between the two. She can res somebody, she's just really good, and a res from a one-shot kill is going to be huge. And for example, something like Terrence or Emil, giving them the ability to last a bit longer to pop their skills and start destroying is huge. And her, I don't know too much about her. I think the general consensus is that she's a B tier, so I don't mind putting her in B tier. However, I don't know too much about her. I don't see many people use her, so it is what it is. So that's my tier list, sort of roughly. Some of this is inspired by the people's tier lists, and also inspired by using heroes myself and people talking over Discord. Certain heroes get some more light when people build them right, and some heroes don't get any love at all. And therefore you barely hear about them, but they could be good in some situations. So I'd put them maybe a little higher than some people have. But generally, if you're sticking to the top part of this list, I think all of these are really strong heroes. So if you look at a tier list and go, I want to know how good or bad a certain hero is, this will give you a rough understanding. Is like if you refer to this, look at the pictures, and you realize, what, this person's in D tier, chances are it's not worth putting time into. And if someone is in S tier and you have copies of them, it's a guarantee that most people tell you to go ahead and do it. Now, before I finish off this tier list, take a look sort of this one really briefly, and then I'll bring over a tier list from someone else. Wawa, who did a tier list for me. I asked him to fill it out to sort of see what they consider to be good, what they consider to be bad, and basically I've thrown the heroes um, into mine, and now we can sort of take a look at what's different and the perceptions. So some heroes like Primo and Archers, I think he's put as D tier. A lot of the D tiers are also the same. I think whatever is not in his D tier, they're in the C tier. Like putting the Nancy there. Some people I've put into B tier, and I put into C tier, he's put into B tier. So they're sort of jumping around, but that's sort of middle with just sort of your own experience. So some people will tell you Diana's amazing, 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 and then someone else will tell you she's not that great. So it really depends on what stage in the game you are and how useful certain things are. Like a silence is much more useful later game than maybe you might find it in the beginning. That's the reason why I thought Sota was not too bad, and then I realized he's actually trash. So that sort of does it for my tier list. Take a look at this. If you like it, great. If it helps, awesome. Um, I try to cover them class by class and on what's good, what's not. But I can delve deeper into individual characters or individual classes and discuss that next. But for now, this is my tier list. Hopefully you enjoyed. I know this is probably going to annoy some people. You're going to tell me that someone else is better than they actually are, or you may tell them they're worse than I have put them. But oh well, that's the nature of tier lists. Anyway, take care. Good luck, and hope you guys won your Guild Wars. Take care. Bye.